Hey boys and girls, welcome back to the art table. So today we are actually going to do kind of a sciencey project. We are going to talk about the difference between regular crayons and ultra washable crayons. Crayola makes a brand of crayons that's called ultra washable, which means that they pretty much come out of anything that they get on, which is really exciting, especially for moms who have toddlers, grown-ups that are watching. I bet you know what I'm talking about. Okay. And they make their regular standard crayons, which is what we usually use in art class. But today we're not going to use these. Today we are going to use the ultra washable ones because they do something really, really cool. They dissolve in water. I know. Now I see some friends that are probably getting a little excited. Okay, so here's what you're going to need for this project. You will need ultra washable crayons. If you don't have ultra washable crayons, you can use regular crayons for this, but you won't be able to do the water part that I'm doing later. If you have watercolors, you could use those instead. Okay, you will need a handy dandy piece of paper. I actually have an extra paper because we're going to be using some water later, so I want to protect my table. Put that there. And you will need some water and some paintbrushes. Any kind of paintbrush will work. It does not have to be a special kind of paintbrush, and any kind of water will work too. No special water today. So step number one is drawing. Just like in the art room, we are going to start with getting our ideas down on the paper. Let me rotate this so you can see a little bit better. All right, and my idea for today is a desert. Now, you don't have to make a desert. You can make anything that you want to on your picture because this is going to work no matter what kind of picture you make. But I'm choosing to make a desert. I want a great big cactus right in the front. And just like when we work in art class, I'm going to start with black crayon. You don't have to if you don't want to. I'm starting with black crayon so you guys can see it, right? And I'm starting with the stuff that's really close in the front. Maybe there's a hole in this cactus and a little owl friend lives in here. I don't know. It's your picture. You can make whatever you want to in it. Maybe there's a smaller cactus far away. Maybe there's a ground line. You should always have a ground line so things aren't floating in space. I'm going to make it a great big sunset. Huge sun. This will be kind of an abstract picture. And then maybe there's a weird tumbleweed blowing through over here. He's kind of a scribble. That's kind of what tumbleweeds look like. So the first step is drawing. We'll get the tumbleweed a little path to go down. So when you are finished drawing, come on back to learn the next step. All right, guys, so the second step is coloring. And just like we do in the art studio, we are going to color in nicely and neatly, doing all of those blending tricks and everything else. Remember, your hand can go fast, but your arm can go slow. And don't worry, I won't make you watch me do all of mine unless you really, really want to. Okay, because you could pause me at any time and go start coloring now that you know that that's your step. And then just fast forward to the next slide if you don't want to complete watching me color. I know some of you do like to watch me color. Okay? So we're going to color it in. And I do want you guys to do some blending if you are using the ultra washable crayons. If you're not and you're planning to do some watercolors, you could just add some details with your crayons. And then you can do your watercolors where I'm doing my water later and your details will still show up. If you are using the ultra washable crayons, see the friends that paused me already, they're going to regret that because they missed this step. Okay. You do want to do a little bit of blending because that is going to make our next step a lot more fun. Because when we do the water step, everything is going to blend together. All right, so I hope you guys have started to color by now. You can color with me if you would like to. I'm going to leave my camera rolling this time while I finish coloring, but I am going to stop talking to you. For you guys that are still paying attention, you might notice that I'm kind of following our color wheel. You guys remember our color math wheel? Right, when I'm picking colors to blend. That way when I do my water step, I know that those colors are going to mix nicely together and they're not going to turn into a color that I don't like, or even a brown. Maybe I don't want a brown in my picture. If you do want stuff to mix into brown, go ahead and put those colors next to each other that are across from each other on the color wheel, and that will make a brown for you. You guys have probably also noticed that still got those highlights and shadows going on. I'm actually just going to go right over top of this. So I think if I did this right, that'll still show up anyway. We'll find out together. Be kind of exciting. I am almost done coloring, boys and girls. So if you are not done coloring yet, you're going to want to pause very soon and then come back with the next step when you're done coloring, okay? I will see you guys soon. All right, guys, and our final step today is that step with water. Now remember, if you are just coloring with crayons that are regular crayons, this step will not work for those. So you could actually be done, or maybe you could spend this time adding a little bit more details to your picture. Remember, it doesn't matter what you're drawing, you get to choose. If you are using watercolors, now would be the time that you would add your watercolors on top. And if you are using the ultra washable the way I am, all you need is your paintbrushes and your water. And here's what happens. You're going to pick a place to start and just have a wet paintbrush. And you go right over top. And I make little circle motions. And what you guys can start to see is that the crayons are actually dissolving in the water and creating kind of a watercolor technique. And when you run out of water, you just dip in and go to the next part. Now, if you don't want the sections to completely mix together, you are going to want to go slowly around your edges because they will mix. Okay? The water doesn't care where your colors are. It will just decide to mix where it wants to. So if you want it to stay in a certain spot, you are going to have to keep it there yourself, which is why I chose to have another paintbrush, which was a little bit skinnier. So I could maybe get into these really tiny spaces without wanting to worry about where the crayon was and where the water was going. And what you'll notice is these really start to look like little watercolor paintings, which is a lot of fun. So I hope that you guys are able to do this whole thing. Again, I understand if you don't have this type of crayon at home, and that is okay. It's just an option if you do, which can be really fun. And just like any other time, guys, throw my paintbrush everywhere. Make sure that before you get out anything messy, you check with your grown-ups. Make sure that if you are using the ultra washable crayons, after you're done using your paintbrush, you clean it out really, really well, because the waxy stuff will stick on the inside of Mr. Paintbrush's hair, and then his regular shampoo won't go into his hair very well. Okay, for my friends that don't understand what that means that when you go painting later, it's not going to get onto your bristles. The wax will push it away, because these crayons still will push away other paint. So you really want to make sure you clean your paintbrushes afterwards. And like everything else, if you want to share what you did with me, send me an email and I'll reply as soon as possible. Tweet it out and we'll make sure that other people at KP get to see it. You guys ready to get up from this table? Awesome. Go do a thing. Hey guys, I forgot a thing. Remember how I said we find out together if this worked? Where I drew my tumbleweed and then I didn't color it in? It didn't work. It all blended right back in together. So not my best tumbleweed, but what's really, really cool about this kind of project is you can just pick up the crayons after you're done and let it dry a little bit. Or otherwise your crayons will get a little squishy since they do dissolve in water. And you can just go right back on top and add it back in. Or I'll clean the top of my crayon off because it was a little wet. I don't want to put the wet crayon back in the box. Or you can grab your regular crayons and do some details on top of those. And I need to let this dry a little bit more before I do that, but that is an idea if you have a mistake like mine where your detail completely disappears because you didn't color it in neatly. See, this is what I get for doing scribble scrabble over top of it. All right, guys, go do a thing.